Hello, and welcome to the show. It is July 7th, 2024. I'm Eric Murphy. This is Skeptic Generation, and we need to talk. Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. I've got a cool topic. I've already got a caller on the line, which is fantastic. I would love to get some more callers. So before I dive into anything else, let me put the phone number up there so we can get started. The phone number, if you'd like to call in, is 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or if you want to call in with a more clear audio, you can always go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Yeah, would love to talk to you. And as always, those calls are toll free on your end. We take any tolls and costs or anything either way. So please feel free to call and we'd love to talk to you. So here's the deal with today's episode. Number one, it's my birthday episode. Yay! I'm turning 37 in 2 days and I am happy to be ringing it in with y'all. So thank you so much for joining me. The topic for today is holding on to the past. And I know that, as always, if you have a belief, moral conviction, a worldview that includes ghosts and the supernatural, you are welcome to call in anytime. But the topic today that I wanted to seed this episode with is about how we look back at our beginnings. So a lot of people who watch this show are ex-Christians, and one of the things that happens when many of us lose our faith is we are trying to epistemically replace so many different pieces of our worldview. It's not just about whether or not a God exists, because in my church, it also included whether or not gay marriage was okay. It included an entirely different set of Christian music, because when I was growing up, the Satanic Panic was a thing and you couldn't listen to secular music. Views on movies, views on politics, all of these things were kind of wrapped in together. And as I've deconstructed my faith, I wound up deconstructing a lot of other things about my worldview. And speaking to other deconverts, people who've left their religion, it can feel triggering to go back to those things that we liked when we believed. And one nuanced thing I don't hear a lot of people talk about is, what can we still take from that time? What can we enjoy? What cultural bits of heritage can we mine? I know that if you've watched what I do for a long time, you'll know that I believe that things like Christmas are ours to do with as we want. I don't want to leave that just because it was tied to something that I did when I was a religious person. But what about the music? What about the cartoons? How many people grew up with VeggieTales? Do you still sing the songs? Because in our house, sometimes we do. I'll tell you on this end, we have these things called C-stands that hold our mics. And we've got two big old ones. And V and I, when we were doing the show together, it felt like two more people were in the room. It's just this giant metal stand. And it took up so much space that it felt like it was its own kind of presence. So we named them Bob and Larry. For those of you who know that reference, fantastic. If you don't, I'm sorry. But it was something that we did, and it's interesting, a lot of people will look at atheist content creators and not think that we came from there, but we did. There's a lot that we have in common, and there's a lot of Christianese that we put down, that we would use to kind of indicate that we were part of that group. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, well, it's been on my heart to tell you this thing, right? There are lots of little things that kind of indicate that you're in the club. How many of those things did you put away? How many of those things do you still find yourself using? And is that something that brings you joy? Or is that something that makes you cringe? I kind of would love to get that view from everybody else. So again, before I dive into our first caller, I'm going to put the phone number out one more time now that you know the topic. I do have one caller. I'd love to get a couple of more on the line that we've got some stuff to choose from. We can have a nice long episode. So one more time, the phone number is 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Our call screener is waiting on the line, and I would love, love, love to talk to you. In the meantime, let's get to our first caller. Oh, I'm getting birthday wishes in the chat. Oh, that's really sweet. Thank you, everybody. I'm happy you're here with me. All right, let's talk to Freya in Illinois. Freya, you are live on the show. How's it going?
Hello?
Oh, hello. Hold on one second. It's coming real loud from you. Let me turn this down. All right, say something again.
Hello?
Much better. How are you doing, Freya? Oh, I know what's going on. I have the audio turned off to the callers so they can't hear me. Freya, can you hear me better?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now.
I'm so sorry. That was my bad. Freya, so give me just a second to get your name in the lower third. In the meantime, while I fill that out, what did you want to talk about?
Oh, cool, yeah. So I heard you... Oh, happy birthday, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, no problem. I heard, okay, so when I tuned into your show last week, I saw that you were talking about how when you deconvert, there's a whole boatload of entertainment, like music, art, TV shows, all of that it's like you have a complicated relationship with, right?
Absolutely.
Like Christian music or VeggieTales or whatever. Yeah. And so I thought about that for a little while, and I'm like, I still fondly regard a lot of those things in the past, even if I recognize that the purpose was like either misguided and they're, sometimes not great, Yeah. So what I'm calling you to ask about is, can that kind of Christian art be good? Like, can it be good art? Can we appreciate any asset of it, if we understand that its purpose was for indoctrination?
Well, so first...
Yeah, I don't know what you think about that.
Oh, I've got thoughts. So first question is, though, I kind of want to contextualize this with you. Do you still view yourself as a Christian?
No, I'm like pantheist of a sort. It's like, it's like I kind of, you throw in some Spinoza and Schopenhauer, some of this like kind of weird mystical philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw that in with like a healthy dose of skepticism of religion, and you've got me. So.
Oh, well, it's interesting that you say weird in your own worldview and in your own beliefs. So can you promise me to call back another time so we can maybe dig into that and talk about it? Because I would love to, but I don't want to get away from your topic, but I would love to put a pin in that and get to another episode and go on that. So can Christian art be good even if it's being used for indoctrination?
Yes. I was like thinking, go ahead.
Oh, no, I what I think is that I kind of want to reach for that, yes, and right. I look, we have to admit, right. We look back at the Renaissance and we see, art that was commissioned by the church that is exactly what we think of when we think of entire eras of art. So obviously, I wouldn't look at, the fresco in the Sistine Chapel and be like, I don't know, but like, that's great art. There's no, come on. And I think that there is plenty of art by honest believers in service of their religion that is beautiful. Absolutely. The problem for me that comes in that can be not good is, well, first off, Freya, did you grow up in the church? Like, was the satanic panic thing for you?
Yeah, though in like kind of a limited way. Like I was homeschooled in like a kind of a very fundamentalist side of Christianity, Church of Christ. I don't know if you're familiar with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, very hardcore from the cradle. The world is evil, and even if there are sort of okay people in it, and it's just like only the redeemed who live by the book, are going to be saved.
And those of us who are stuck here on this planet need to be in the world but not of the world, right? We need to be there but separate.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, the reason I ask is because I wanted to make sure we had this in common. Is I remember getting into rock and roll and being like, yes, you like this music, but have you seen Christian rock and roll? Have you heard Creed? Have you, you're getting into metal. Have you heard Skillet? Right? We've got the Christian version of things that maybe we can point you to, so you don't need to listen to worldly music. And I feel like if you are trying to just have the carbon copy Christian version of a thing, you're not making your own art for its own sake. And that feels like legally they use the term fruit of a poisoned tree sometimes, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I feel like, if you're making something because you want to make the knockoff version of it, you're really doing a disservice to the fans and yourself. Just make your own thing. That said, there was some Christian music that are bops, that
Yeah.
you get that earworm and it's just in your head. I cannot tell you how many times, I'll be, making breakfast on a Saturday morning and in the back of my head, our God is an awesome God. He reigns from, and I'm like, oh no. And it's stuck.
God.
It's those who are in the chat.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, I'm thinking, I sing hymns to myself all the time, and it's like, 'cause I grew up singing in the church and leading songs.
Oh man,
So
yeah.
in the context of worship, Church of Christ only does acapella, at least in the context of worship, whether individuals listen to instrumental CCM Christian music. That's kind of like I grew up in a youth group where people listened to Christian rock, but they didn't play it at church.
Yeah. No, oh man. I'm trying to be edgy in youth group. Yeah, no, so here's the thing. Here's the reason why I wanted to do this episode is because I don't want people to feel like it needs to be something cringy that they need to turn away from, that we can embrace all of the things that made us who we are. So that's kind of where I'm at. But you asked me what my opinion is. I want to give you the floor a little bit. What is there anything that you hold on to or maybe try and get away from when it comes to those Christian cultural influences that you grew up with? Freya? Uh-oh. Freya?
I'm trying. Hang on, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
You're coming in really, really distorted. It sounds like there might be a problem with the connection.
Let me take off my headphones. 1 sec.
Okay. Let's see if this makes things a little bit better, hopefully, because I'm having fun with this conversation. Right now, I'm vamping while Freya takes off their headphones, and we'll see how they go.
Oh, shit. Can you hear me now?
I am. It's still coming in a little bit distorted. You know what, Freya? Could you?
Yeah.
Are you up for taking me up on that call maybe next week if you're up for it, and we can talk about a little bit more about your pantheism, because I'd love to dig in.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would love to call back in, but yeah. Let me go ahead and so you need me to hang up? That's okay.
No, that's okay. I can drop the call. I just wanted to say thank you for calling, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Hey, no problem, Eric. You take care, okay?
Will do. Bye-bye. What a sweetheart. I love that. What a good start to the episode. All right. Ooh, we've got Connor calling in. Connor in Texas, you are next. Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Hey, Eric, how's it going?
Doing good. Let me turn your volume up a little bit. I needed to turn things down for Freya. So while I get you into the lower third, why don't you talk to me a bit about why you're calling in?
So there is this one holdover I got. Not like a. Yeah, y'all already went over all the music and art stuff. I was going to go over more of a religious aspect. Now I don't use it in a religious sense. So I was raised Catholic, and there's that sign of the cross you do across the top of your torso and your head.
Yeah,
thing.
spectacles, testicles, watch and wallet. That thing. Was that ever a thing that you said?
No, I
no.
mean, that's the first time I heard that.
I heard.
Oh no, wait! That was also in Gran Torino, wasn't it? That little grandson.
I don't remember. I didn't see Gran Torino, but I heard it as a kid from somebody, and it stuck in my head for the rest of my life. Anyway, go ahead.
So it's mostly been a cultural holdover. Like I'll do it in certain situations, like like without thinking about it, like for a someone who is recently deceased, and it's more like for me, it's more like showing a sign of respect for the recently departed.
Sure.
Like the most recent was for my grandmother earlier this year.
I have mixed thoughts
But
there. Go ahead, though.
well, like I said, it's a cultural holdover for me.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, honestly, I feel like there is absolutely a place for taking care of your community. And there are certain rituals that we have that are really, really beneficial. Things like welcoming a new life into the world, right? Or being there to celebrate, a wedding, or being there to guide the mourning of someone who's passed. Personally, I've been invited to, and I really want to take the American Humanist Association's offer, if it's still available, to become trained as a humanist celebrant. Have you heard about the humanist celebrants?
I have no idea what that means.
Get this. Humanist celebrants are people who can do those things, just not necessarily in a religious capacity. And in some ways, that definitely feels to me more welcoming.
Yeah.
When I was incredibly close to my grandma, and she had an incredibly big impact on my life, and I will always, always love her and cherish my memories with her. And when she died, my uncle took charge. He's a pastor of the ceremony of the funeral, and he used her funeral as an altar call. He essentially said that if you are not saved, that she is watching you right now in heaven and wishes to see you. And if you don't get saved, if you don't come up right now, you will never see her again. And you are breaking her heart right now by not doing that. And just leaning on everyone in attendance to try and call people to be saved then and there. And
yeah, no one did any of that at my grandmother's funeral or anything.
I'm so jealous.
That would have come off as that would have come off as disrespectful to her.
You would think, but this particular uncle didn't have a whole lot of tact. And I don't mind saying it on air. He can absolutely watch this episode. It broke my heart, and it absolutely tarnished that entire thing for me, and really impacted my ability to grieve openly or around family. And so having somebody, though, who can lead, a funeral or just a remembrance ceremony, something like that, there are ways that you can do that without needing to call people to repent then and there. One of the most beautiful things I've seen in humanist, ceremonies is in weddings. There's the ring warming ceremony, where you take the rings and you go to the very back of the room wherever you're doing the ceremony, and you hand the rings to the people in the audience on either side, and they hold it, and then they hand it to the next person, and they get passed forward. And when you do get to that part in the ceremony where you exchange rings, you get them from the audience and you say, "These rings have been warmed with the love and the support of the people here who are wishing you the best in your lives moving forward." Like, it is such a touching thing. There's so many things we can do together to inspire that sense of joy and love, compassion and respect that is beautiful. And so the reason I say all of that is, making the sign of the cross as a sign of respect, for family members who are religious, I absolutely get. And at the same time, I also want to push forward that there are ways that we can have these ceremonies. Having a ceremony to welcome a life into the world doesn't need to be a baptism, and it doesn't need to be religious. You don't need to have supernatural beliefs to gather together around a new life being brought into your community. That's a beautiful thing, and we should not leave that go. And there are also non-religious ways that we can do that can be inclusive and welcoming to everyone else. And that's kind of what I want to see more of. So it's interesting that you bring up the religious way of kind of approaching those ceremonies. I think personally, I really do want to push and make known that there are ways to do it that can be more inclusive, ways that don't need to rely on, well, she's in heaven now. They're in a better place, uh, and, um, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, that all sounds nice.
Yeah, right? Yeah. But if you haven't checked it out, American Humanist Association, that you can find celebrants local to your area, people that you can hire who are part of your community already, who would be happy to help kind of lead those community activities like that. And I definitely 100% support them, and want to get the word out wherever I can. So, cheers to American Humanist Association.
All right, that's all I had to mention to you.
That's wonderful. Hey, Connor, thank you so much for calling in. I appreciate you. I enjoy every time you call in. You are definitely one of the voices I look forward to. So thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
You too.
All right. So I definitely want to keep the show going. I've got another call in the queue, but I need some more callers. So today's the day. If you've been sitting and waiting on bringing up a question, does not need to necessarily be related to the topic. Today's a great day to call in. It's my birthday. Come on. I don't want to do a short episode. So one more time with the phone number before I move on to the next call. 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or you can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Our call screener is waiting for your call. Sincerely appreciate it. All right, let's move on to our next caller. Let's talk to Ashley in Minnesota. Ashley, you're live on the air.
Oh my gosh.
Hey.
Hi, Eric.
Hello. Okay, so while I, type your name into the lower third, talk to me. What do you want to call in about today?
So I heard that the topic was like what we can take from our previous religious experiences
Yeah.
and just kind of use that in our own daily life. Is that to what I'm understanding?
That's part of it. I was also
Kinda.
kind of expecting at least one person to call in being like, fuck that, no, screw that, somebody, but so far it's been pretty amenable. I just want people's honest opinion. I want to kind of get people's take on it so I'm not in my own little echo chamber.
Yeah. There are certain things that I am super very fuck that about with religious practice.
Okay.
But like the ones that I take are like sitting, like you were in a church service for meditation, or just reading and exploring those. Maybe it may be like emotional manipulation of myself, like with music and just calmly sitting down or standing and doing things like that. But that's kind of what I use it for, and I usually just throw a satanic twist on it because it's
like what?
Because I'm a Satanist, and so like after I get done reading, so I'm currently rereading the Bible.
Okay.
And after I get done reading it, I'll associate it, or I'll find words that people have used in the verses and chapters and stuff to specifically call me horrible things, and then write down those horrible things on that page and burn it.
Oh, that is an interesting personal ritual.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one thing that I do kind of want to put a pin in that, no, not put a pin. I want to bring this up. Is there are so many people who have turned away from ritual as a thing. As an atheist, you just, oh, well, that's a religious thing. And ritual can be so important, especially when it comes to hacking our own brains. And I know that V, does witchy stuff, and what that really means for them is finding rituals like that make them feel a way. Either it's it can be grieving, or it can be welcoming in a new season and giving yourself a reason to approach the next few months with, you know, a positive view or you know, any of that. You know, give yourself a chance to restart or refresh or have purpose, you know, in the coming season. The idea of writing what was there on that specific page and burning it, I bet that would be really cathartic.
It's very cathartic. A little bit of backstory.
Yeah.
I grew up super duper religious once my dad had passed.
Okay.
My mom took us out of school, had us read only the Bible. I went to church 7 days a week and twice on Sunday.
Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on. How does that work? So we had, I had boys study group. There was a youth group, which was different because that was mixed gender. There was church on Saturday. It wasn't church, but it was volunteering, and it wasn't every Saturday, but usually on the other Saturdays, it was birthdays or whatever stuff to go to. On Friday, what was it? There were usually Friday activities, so maybe there were 2 youth group things, but Ashley, I can only fill like 4 days. What did you do with all the 7 days?
Okay.
So,
Monday, the youth pastor had a Bible study that he ran, that we were a part of.
Okay. Was this a certain age group or mixed gender? I'm sorry. I gotta ask.
It was the entirety of the church, whoever wanted to come and just learn about it.
Sunday part 2, Electric Boogaloo. Got it.
Yeah.
Church numero 2.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily like a sermon, more like an open Bible study. We'd read a text and discuss it. And we tried to work our way through the entirety of the Bible.
Okay.
So then Tuesday, my church had it wasn't a Bible study, but it was like a youth group-esque thing. It was directly after their like softball practice.
That's what we did on Fridays was softball. And then we go for pizza afterwards. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
And then Wednesday, we had Awana and doing all of the things associated with that. Thursday, I had, gosh, what the heck was it? I want to say it was another Bible study, or like a church service, but it was with a smaller group. It was like one of the other congregants had decided to head up their own Bible study that was meant to run parallel with the pastors.
So it was like an elder who was doing that?
Yeah.
Okay. Here I'm sitting there thinking, deacon, man, Pastor Lance was lazy.
No.
Okay. Interesting.
So then, yeah.
Okay.
And then Friday we had our softball games and stuff like that. And those were always opened with prayer and reading,
of course,
from the Bible. And then Saturday we had, so my dad did like a Saturday super clean thing. So we'd clean the entire house.
Okay.
And that just carried over after he died because my mom wanted to keep the ritual of it.
Sure.
And then immediately after that, we'd go to church and spend almost the whole day there.
Wow.
Just either cleaning or doing little break-off study groups, lots of singing. And then Sunday, we had 2 church services.
Yeah, like a 9 and an 11, I'm assuming. Yeah. Okay. So that... So for people who are wondering, if you grew up that tied to different, rituals and things like that, even after deconstructing and all of that, there is a place that you've grown up with for ritual, filling that with something, right? Finding ways to take charge and creating rituals for yourself that feel good, and that help you personally can be so important. I absolutely... Go ahead.
Kind of.
Okay.
So the church itself did not make me feel comfortable at all. So because of what they were preaching and how they were preaching it, they were a very right-wing church.
Yeah.
The typical gays should be killed, but not through us, through the government or whatever.
No. We love them. We love the sinner. We just hate the sin. Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah. Stuff like that. Yeah. And a lot of the vitriol that came out of these Bible studies directed either towards me or people I loved. It was atrocious.
So here's where I kind of want to dissect that a little bit. Is for me, if someone is monologuing at me, there's a kind of preaching that drives me up the wall and just automatically sets off my ick factor. But when you're talking about, I'll give you an example. I was listening to lo-fi. It was a Miyazaki inspired lo-fi that I was listening to, and I just got this sense of peace. And I realized that I had the same sense of calmness that I had when I was in church and music was going. There are ways that we can hack our brain. I would say that was something really fun for me to rediscover. I don't know if that's something that you've been able to get in touch with or not, but
I used to believe that, like, the music and the ritual of just going to church and being led by the Holy Spirit was, like, just an integral part of the faith. And then I went to a rock concert, and I got the exact same dopamine hits.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and what killed me is the very first time I had that feeling that, kind of tingle through my spine. I turned to my mom and I said, what is this feeling? She said, that's the Holy Spirit. That's the Holy Spirit. Yeah. You're feeling the Holy Spirit. And then I felt the Holy Spirit at a concert, and it confused the shit out of me. No, oh my goodness. The very first time it rattled me, feeling that Holy Spirit feeling. I was in 5th grade, and we went to the LA Philharmonic, and I was just goosebumps from head to toe. And I was just like, God is here at the LA Phil. It took me such a long time to kind of decouple that, but I do remember that being like, oh my gosh. Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah. The worst part was, after I had gone to the concert and felt the same feelings, I had brought this up to my pastor specifically, and it was just like a secular concert, right? So he told me that it was the Lord of Lies deceiving me into feeling emotions like the Holy Spirit.
What the shit?
And it was not, in fact, the Holy... Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He discredited the entire experience.
Of course. That is so fucking weird. Actually,
yeah.
You absolutely feel like the kind of person I would love to just sit down and have a beer with and talk to.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're on this side of things, and I definitely want to encourage you to keep finding the things that are bringing you joy. And like, I don't know. The reason I wanted to do this episode, this topic, is so that maybe we can reframe the trauma that we went through and find where the good was. And I'm glad that you're able to, and I want to encourage that. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Eric. I really appreciate everything that the SKEPGEN community has done in promoting good conversation and just general kindness. I don't think I've ever been treated so well by a community ever. So I very much appreciate you guys.
I am so proud of the community that's been built up around this show, and I absolutely love it. I cannot take credit for it. And I'm really grateful for it too. Ashley, thank you for calling in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yep, you as well. Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Oh my gosh. Okay, you guys, I'm sorry. But I kind of forgot I was doing a show for a minute there. All right. So we do have some more callers I would love to get to. Let's get on to Stephen in Pennsylvania. Stephen, you are live on the show.
Happy birthday, Eric.
Oh, thank you, Stephen.
Speaking of great communities, here I am.
Hey, hey.
No, I'm kidding.
Oh,
So,
no, you're a sweetheart. Don't,
Thank you.
no, Okay, so it says in the notes that you want to talk about pop culture holdovers and separating art from the artist. This feels like
Yeah.
a good kind of extension of the call that we got 2 weeks ago talking about that. So hit me. Like, let's set it up.
Well, you had said about the Christian rock and different things that you were exposed to and that you still tap your foot to or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
And Seth Andrews has talked a lot about this, that mimicking what was popular in popular culture and creating the earworm was sort of the point. So, the fact that it's still sticking for you is not a surprise, but it's also in deconverting and deconstructing religion and trying to come out of it, it's not the only time that we've had to deal with that in terms of popular culture. And I'm thinking of people like Bill Cosby, of Michael Jackson, that they have this body of art, whether it be television or music or comedy or whatever.
Or J.K. Rowling.
That we still are coping with. And the other thing that occurred to me while I was talking to the screener, and you will have songs like this too. When you're a kid, under a certain age, you don't know what the hell you're singing.
No.
When I was 7, there was a song on the radio called Afternoon Delight.
Mm-hmm.
And we all sang it, not knowing what Afternoon Delight was.
No.
The lyric was, thinking and working up an appetite, looking forward to a little afternoon delight. That's milk and cookies after school. We had no idea what the adults were actually doing. And then, a generation later, we had Baby Got Back, and I Like Big Butts, and all these things that kids were singing along to and had no idea what they were singing because it's just about the music and not about the content necessarily. And that's what musicians are paid to do.
Absolutely. And you know what? It is not a new thing. I've heard a couple of baby boomers go, oh, this new music has, and meanwhile, when they were kids, they were singing yummy, 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 I got love in my tummy. And
so you swallow is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
But
hey,
okay.
You know what? Not quitters. That's fine. But like,
right on. It's okay. But
But okay. Anyway, sorry. Separating the art from the artist. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it's basically, it's not a new issue, and it's not. I mean, the issue that we have with people like J.K. Rowling, Bill Cosby, Michael Jackson, and so forth is that we're still buying their content and what that means for what we might be tacitly doing, even though it's about the content and not about the content creator or the author. And I realize that we struggle with that. Mm-hmm. But I think if you enjoy a song, I grew up with Michael Jackson.
Same here.
And it's not, I don't buy his stuff at this point because I don't really need to. It's still played on the radio and we hear it. It's on the Muzak tracks every time we go out for some reason. But it's still all around us, and it's still a part of the fabric of our history, whether it's, the secular or however you want to look at it. And, and with Bill Cosby, it's kind of a shame for everybody who was connected with that show because they won't play the Cosby Show anywhere because of Bill Cosby. Yeah. But everybody else who worked on that isn't getting residuals or getting any of that stuff. So it's still tricky. But I think when I think even for me, there were church songs that I liked. And when I sang in school and in college, there were always religious songs that we had to sing that some of them were really beautiful. And you can look at them artistically and say, yeah, that's a nice song. And you may not agree with the content of the lyrics, but I didn't know what I was singing about with the Afternoon Delight, and liked the song, or I like big butts, or whatever it was.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I think you don't have to like beat yourself over the head about liking those things that were a memory for you, or bring you any kind of joy in any circumstance. There's a song by Sonic Flood that I really liked in the early 90s, Open the Eyes of My Heart.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But there's no lyric to that song. They just sing my heart, Lord, and they just sing it over and over again. All right, my eyes are open. Can we get to the next verse? There isn't one. All right, we'll sing it again.
Yeah, oh my
exactly.
God.
But it's a great
that you just triggered
tune.
some fucking memories.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No.
But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It was a good song to listen to, and I enjoyed it. And I was already an atheist by that point. I think a friend of mine had played it, and I was like, that's a pretty cool song. And, and it's just, okay, it brought me joy. I can run with it that way. And, and that's what you do. And, and Lord knows, no pun intended, the church also looks at certain artists and tries to scandalize them, to be, whether it's Madonna or anybody who has over-sexualized lyrics, or, the entire rock industry, when they put parental advisories on music, it just made them sell better. So, it's sort of an impossible force to resist, is I guess what I mean. And it's totally okay, especially on your birthday.
Well,
sing any damn song you want.
Here's where I kind of want to. So I absolutely feel that, and since you're taking that viewpoint, I feel like you're letting me get the chance to push back a bit here.
Of course.
I feel like there's an ethical way that we can consume art from problematic artists. And I've got some lines. Everybody's got their own lines, but my line is this: if they're still alive, then your money can still be benefiting bigoted consumerism on their part, right? So when I read, I know I've used these examples before, but when I read Ender's Game and I found out just how homophobic Orson Scott Card was, I didn't really participate in purchasing anything by Orson Scott Card until the author's death. I believe he's dead. Is he?
I don't know. We're working on it.
Right. We're going to outlast him. I'm not going to put money towards anything Harry Potter related until either J.K. Rowling dies or, Universal buys the rights to that, because I really don't want to help fund anything that J.K. Rowling might do that, promotes anti-trans stuff. The UK is transphobic enough already. I don't really need to help any of that shit.
Sure.
I think for me, I may get in trouble for saying this, but honestly, truly, I think the ethical thing to do, the best thing to do, is to steal it.
Well,
if you like the content and they're a piece of shit, pirate it. I feel
like Ender's Game is a really good example. Like Ender's Game is not something I didn't purchase the book. I'm not going to purchase the film. But if it's on TNT and they just happen to be running it on a Saturday with commercials, so I'll watch it, because I'm not paying anything extra for it. I'm not doing anything extra for it.
Well,
it's just sort of there.
No, but
because I'm too. I mean, as Harry Potter is concerned, like I totally agree with you in principle, everything you just said. But like Harry Potter, I'm a little too old for. My husband is into it. I don't know how.
Hey.
Well, no, we're just old. Yeah, I appreciate that, but we're not going to fly around on a broom anytime soon, or get into some of that. Even Lord of the Rings is more our speed, but okay, but it's fine. But the point being is he's not going to buy the books either, or do any of that stuff at this point to give her money, along the lines of what you just said. But I think for things that are on basic cable or broadcast television where nobody's making any money off of what I'm specifically doing, I can consume that content. And but it gets, because there are advertisers who pay, and there's always a downstream, somebody's paying for it. but it's a question of how you feed into that. And, you can boycott it until somebody dies, and that's fine too.
Yeah.
I think if it comes down to something coming out of my pocket, I'm not going to pay any extra or do anything extra on my end of things, unless it happens to be on or whatever. Like even the Cosby Show, I don't go looking for it,
Yeah.
but it's sort of a novelty if I find it anywhere, because it's like, oh, this station is running it. That's interesting. And, Theo and I were the same age, so I grew up with that. And, he was going through the same stages of high school and college that I was. So, and it's unfortunate, because of how many, in his case, careers either got held up or destroyed or just seriously sidetracked because of their connection to him. And that's part of the problem, too, because you're focusing on, let's take the Harry Potter group for the moment. I mean, Daniel Radcliffe doesn't really have to worry because he's off doing a bunch of other things, and so are the other actors. Even the adult actors from that were already famous and brought in for cameos or whatever parts. They have other things to do.
Sure.
So you can still support them. But like the Cosby kids, none of them are doing anything at this point because, their Cosby Show was their big claim to fame. And they worked for 8 years on that show. And so that's where I still don't, again, I don't seek it out. I don't rent it. I don't buy it. I don't spend anything on anything related to Bill Cosby, but it becomes an issue for the other actors and artists that were connected with that. So, and it sucks because, they probably all went into it in good faith and expecting everybody to behave morally and ethically.
Yes,
and,
yes,
and something like this happens.
I mean, yes, and, right? Like, I do a lot of work, and if I get 40 years of residuals on this channel, and then those residuals go away, I think 40 years is a pretty good amount of time to collect on that labor. Like, that's pretty good. I'm not
sure.
So I don't know. I don't know. I definitely feel you in as far as the larger conceit of that is, though. But I think that your example of the actors for Harry Potter, most of them have been pretty loud and pretty clear that if you decide not to consume that because of the creator, they're not going to be heartbroken about it, and
Sure.
Yeah. So I don't know.
And that's awesome. And that's awesome on their part, as well, to be allies to right versus wrong, not even, a community or whatever, because I find Rowling to be so vitriolic and disgusting that, it's nice to know that there's sort of this unified front from the artists connected with her properties that have performed it and become so beloved on their own that, it's really wonderful that they use their power and their fame in the situation to be supportive. So that's fantastic.
And
but sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, and they have not benefited from 40 years of residuals.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm kind of split there. I do want to say that I have a personal fact checker today who has let me know that Orson Scott Card is still alive. So do not purchase or pay money at least for Ender's Game.
I'll have to place a few calls. I didn't know that was the case. But okay. The Amish Mafia out here, yeah.
All right, so this is a great time for me to mention that Skeptic Generation does not promote or endorse violence or
the opinions expressed by the callers
do not
Skeptic Generation do not necessarily reflect.
I encouraged people to steal too. People in the comments are like, "Turn to service, you might get in trouble." So I was just, you know what you can take from that. If the only way to ethically consume a thing is to steal it, if you're not interested in stealing, then you cannot ethically consume it. How about that? Anyway,
that sounds great. Yes, no, I would agree with that as well. And it's and it's just, but again, to my initial point is that it's kind of okay if you're struggling with music that you liked from the church or anything that you like from the church, even the rituals. I mean, I was raised Catholic. When I find myself in a situation where it's a moment of silence or whatever it is, it's very generalized, I still am fighting my right hand not to do the sign of the cross across my body, because it's just such a reflex. I don't do it, but it's still, it's part of us. As much as we like it or dislike it, it's a part of us, and it's kind of okay to acknowledge that, and particularly when it's music that brings us joy.
Agreed. And the atheist police are not going to show up at your house and say you're doing it wrong. You do those things that make you feel good, and all the power to you. Hey, Stephen, I'm lucky enough to have a couple more callers on the line that I definitely want to make sure I get to. But
you're telling me to shut up is what you're saying, Eric.
I'm telling you, I got other callers, and I need to be generous to them, too.
Not a problem. Just wanted to make sure I wish you a happy birthday. Everything else was fluff.
Stephen, you're an absolute sweetheart. Thank you for calling in.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, I get to have a fact checker today. I have a friend who does their own content, who wants to view kind of how things go at the live show. So grateful to have you here, brother. I don't know if you want to, but it's, anyway. I don't want to call you out if you don't want to be called out, but I'm happy
to be called out. But this is amazing to be able to watch this and to get the vibe of this community. I really appreciate being able to be behind the scenes. Thank you, Eric.
Of course. Isn't it a great community? Yeah. I am so grateful for the people here. Okay. Eric is making you want to buy a Paisley shirt. Conservative atheist? That is the correct answer, because Paisley is awesome. Anyway, let's move on and talk to David Joseph. David Joseph in North Carolina, you are live on the show.
Hey there, happy birthday, Eric.
Oh, I thank you so much. Let me just get you on the lower third here. What did you want to talk about today, David?
Calling with an update, buddy. I talked to you a few months ago about accepting a position as an atheist on the board of a church.
You did! And I was kind of confused and what's the update? What's going on?
So I'm on the board of the church now, right? I've attended a couple board meetings.
And they know you're an atheist?
Oh yeah, they knew I was an atheist beforehand. It's, I would say a highly progressive, it's the least religious church I've ever been a part of.
So I may have asked before and forgotten, but just also for the benefit of, people who are tuning in and didn't watch that call, what incentivized the church to want an atheist on their board?
Let me parrot their own language. The heart of a servant. David Joseph has the heart of a servant. So I'm active in the community. I'm willing to volunteer my time, and I step up. Yeah. So my Smart Recovery meeting that happens every week meets there. I'm part of another group that meets there. It's more of a community center. The actual Methodists that run the church rent out the space to another congregation on Sunday.
Okay. That is a really, given the way that they view that is a very, very sweet way to talk about you. You must be a pretty damn good person, David.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Okay. Oh, go ahead.
I said a lot of people would agree.
If you got voted on the board, sure. Okay. So you're on the board. What now? What happened? How's that affected things?
From my position on the board and from my volunteer efforts, I was actually offered a job at the church. So I accepted. I am the church sexton now.
No shit.
All right. Familiar with the term?
I'm going to be honest. Not really. Hit me. What's a sextant? I know what the tool a sextant is, but I'm pretty sure you're not navigating by the stars.
Yeah, that's sextant and then sexton. So medieval word, it used to mean gravedigger, bell ringer, groundskeeper. So yeah, man, I look after the place and I make sure it's cleaned up a couple times a week. Like 4 hours a week.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I love that you were able to tap into a community, even if you don't share the same, religious views, that you're able to be a part of a group that is, giving and charitable to the you know, the local, community around. That is incredible. I'm pretty sure. Go ahead.
Go ahead, man. Let me hear it. You're pretty sure.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I said this last time, but if more people were able to collaborate with local churches to create these larger communities that are caring regardless of the kind of in-group, out-group dynamics of, belief, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And I would be happy to see myself not useful anymore if if we created a world like that. So I'm really, really happy to see it. But you were saying,
this particular group, and now that I've gotten to know a bunch of the people who frequent the space, I would classify majority of the people I meet as very stringently agnostic. The honest answer is I don't know, and then if our values line up, we're working together most of the time, and I appreciate that a whole hell of a lot.
I love that. I love that. I like that that you're making space for each other. I feel like that's building community, and I don't see enough of that being represented online. So I'm happy to have the platform to kind of share that that's something that is possible and doable. While I still have you on the line, do you have any things that you want to kind of achieve in your new platform as a board member and sextant of the church?
Yeah, education, right? Being in North Carolina, there are definitely a bunch of traditions and stereotypes that are carried on. The church always told me believers or non-believers are evil.
Oh,
and then you see me planting the flowers and watering the garden, and you're like, that dude doesn't look evil to me.
Right? I was a kid. I remember meeting an atheist and trying to find physical tells. Like maybe they have some kind of scaly, dry skin, or maybe they smell a certain way, trying to find ways to pick up, because obviously they had demonic influences in their lives. So maybe I could find the presence of demons around them. So just the fact that you are who you are, out as you are, that's fantastic. I love it. I doing any events or anything like that, I'd love to hear about it. I'm so glad that you called back in to update. Thank you.
Oh yeah, man. But we're too far away for you to come to our local events.
Yeah, probably. But if I find myself in North Carolina, I will announce it on the show. So
North Crackalacky.
Yeah.
So I wanted to. We've covered that. I think the biggest takeaway from me accepting a position and being part of a religious community is the fact that I get to share. I want to choose my words wisely here. Ideology, right? Ideology isn't the right word. I get to share my viewpoint from someone who's a non-believer with people who are stringently believers sometimes. And then usually we find the common ground and move forward. So I would say that is.
The two phrases that I love using in that context are, number one, you can be good without God. God is not necessary for being a good person, and showing that is really wonderful. And the other thing is that whether you believe it or not, human hands solve human problems. And the fact that you are rolling up your sleeves to do that is definitely, I love it.
Because I wanted to share a virtue about the actual topic that you had chosen for today, or a ritual that I still carry of it.
Definitely.
But first I want to touch on, there's a little library that's around the corner from my house. So it's just a box on a pole, and it's right across from the public high school. So 2 weeks ago, I had noticed it was empty, and I asked some friends if they had any young adult literature that I could put in there. So I received Percy Jackson. I got Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter. I got some other ghost hunting books, and I got the first Harry Potter books. So I loaded up the empty little library, and then I went and checked it yesterday, and the only books left in there were the Harry Potter books.
No shit.
Yeah, so that's just a whole stack of anecdotes don't make evidence, right?
True, but because that anecdote supports my own previously held belief, I want to hold on to it
Confirmation.
and use that for my confirmation bias.
I thought it was very funny, man. Like that, those books, like on eBay, they're selling for like $15. I mean, the kids wouldn't even take them out of the dang $3.
Hey,
Um,
you know what? I'm so like, your community sounds incredible, David.
we're very purple here, Eric. So
Yeah. Damn.
yeah.
Well, David, thank you for calling in. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Hold up, I wanted to share about my my ritual, but if not, you'd like to move on. That's fine. But
No, I do want to give you the last word. I just want to make sure that I have time for the other people. So go ahead, hit me.
So the idea of prayer, that's something that's still very loosely associated with my life. After years of being told, if you just think this certain way, you can then connect to what I was told was like an omnipresent being.
Mm-hmm.
That helped build up those neural pathways in my mind, and I could achieve that thing, like that peace that exceeds all understanding. I now have a better understanding to know that that's like literally my my frontal lobe shutting off my observational awareness area in the back of my brain, and that's what gives me that peace. But that is still a thing I can use. I can achieve it in like 30 seconds with just the right rhythmic breathing.
What an interesting skill. So for me, and I've definitely separated prayer from meditation, and I can get that through meditation. But prayer, no matter how hard I try, after having left the faith, I think I get a profound sense of loneliness. And I think that's definitely part of how I've kind of left the church and all of that. But that's pretty cool.
In the very loosest sense, it is me saying positive affirmations to myself. That
Damn straight.
My prayer looks like today.
See, and the reason I want to give this a platform is because I feel like no other atheist shows do. They go, oh, that's stupid, that's bad, whatever. You need to really kind of work on getting that out of your system. But if you found ways to kind of hack into, your own brain to, I feel like that's just so beneficial. So I love that. And I'm glad you can still have that and not have the same kind of bitter feelings that a lot of us have. Rock on.
Big fan of pragmatism and whatever works. Thank you for your time today, Eric.
Hey, thank you. Take care.
Mwah.
Oh, very, very sweet. All right. I've got more callers. I love it. Happy birthday to me. Thank you all so much. Okay. Let's move on and talk to, Nick, I'm going to save you for last. But let's go and talk to the Atheopagan. The Atheopagan. You are live on the air. How's it going?
Good. I think, okay, before I get into it.
Yeah, what's up?
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate you.
Because I think we've finally found our disagreement.
Ooh. Hit me. What do you got?
Well, we already technically had a disagreement about Debate Bros, but that was a pretty weak disagreement.
Fair enough.
This disagreement, however, separating the art from the artist.
Mm-hmm.
I have, over the course of the last couple of years, completely 100% stopped caring. And, well, maybe not stopped caring, but I've come to the conclusion it's useless. About 99% of the media that I consume, I absolutely hate the people that make it. This especially comes out when it comes to my love of metal. Because every single metal band, except for one that I can think of right now, maybe two because of the call screener who gave me another one, I'll have to listen to them, see if I actually like them, are complete and utter assholes to the point where I just despise everything about them, and I just listen to their music, and as long as their music doesn't say anything about what I disagree with them on, I listen to it.
How can you do that, though? I don't.
Because if I didn't, then I would be listening to nothing, or I would be listening to the same band every day.
Okay. Let me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, hold on a second. We might definitely have a fundamental like shift in the, so for me, I'm going to show my age so hard here. Do you remember Napster?
Yeah.
And BearShare?
I think we both grew up on Napster.
Yeah. So, fuck Lars Ulrich.
Yeah.
Right? Ever since this absolutely obscenely wealthy artist got mad that his own fans were sharing music online, I cannot listen to Metallica. I couldn't. And that breaks my heart because I was a happy little metalhead. But when I saw that temper tantrum, I was never able to listen to Metallica again and enjoy it without thinking about Lars Ulrich.
Oh, I don't really think about them anymore. Like, for example,
you don't even think about them anymore.
I don't.
Okay,
like
but didn't that sour the experience for you?
No, because I don't give a shit about the person that made the music. As long as in the music itself, it's not saying, Jews are taking over the world and trans people all need to die. Like if it's about normal human experiences, no, I can enjoy the music, and I can enjoy the lyrics. So, for example, the guy that I grew up absolutely loving before I even had a political thought in my head when I was really, really young was Meatloaf.
Oh my God.
I loved Meatloaf when I was a child.
Yeah.
Absolutely adored him. And then, I saw him in the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Oh, incredible just cameo, yeah.
And then in the early aughts, he went completely mad and started, going down the whole Obama birther shit and all that other crap, and started becoming like a hardcore conservative, which made no sense with the history that he had, but that's usually how it works with conservatives. So no, if you listen to a lot of Meatloaf's music, it has nothing to do with conservative values. Almost none of it does. Now that I think about it, most of it's about free love or riding a motorcycle or blah, or Disturbed with their lead singer recently went over to Israel and signed some Israeli artillery shells, and in complete asshole-ish support of Israel. And yeah, but at the same time, you listen to their rendition of 10,000 Fists, or a lot of their other music that talks about actually fighting against authoritarians or tyranny. And it's if you can, I don't give a shit about that anymore.
Okay, so
I care about what the actual music is saying.
Yeah, that's an interesting line. So I hope you know that right now I'm kind of thinking aloud. Because you are calling out that there probably are a couple musicians that I listen to who are pieces of shit. So that would make me a hypocrite. I want to be internally consistent in the way that I approach things. And so, I'm wondering if maybe I should shift it to if they weren't an asshole at the time, but that also,
Or do you like Rammstein?
I did.
Up until the issues recently, right?
I stopped liking them earlier than that, if I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
I kind of expanded my repertoire, into not metal.
Okay.
But I listened to Rammstein back when I listened to Kitty. Do you remember Kitty?
Not particularly, no.
No? Check out Paper Doll afterwards. Badass.
Okay.
Anyway. You know what? Let me sit with that and get back to you. Separating the art from the artist, maybe you can't fight every fight, but I do have to admit that I get soured on artists if they're a big enough piece of shit, or maybe if it's just enough that I've seen. And
I mean, probably the sin that you probably hit me on the most if we ever hung out is I can listen to a Sabaton song and those guys are fucking absolutely, like, they make music from the perspective of Nazis, for example, which is, you know, really bad. But there are songs also speaking from the perspective of like freedom fighters, and you know.
Yeah, I don't think I could go there. There is a level of so bad that it wraps back around.
Yeah, but I don't listen to the songs about the Nazis. I only listen to the songs about the freedom fighters or the or like fighting Nazis, which also exists.
I'm definitely not there. I will tell you that the number of LGBT and trans folks who've listened to like Tone Loc and been like, has been great. So I mean, I guess it can wrap back around, but no, I guess I do need to adjust the way that I'm saying this. I don't think that you need to be fighting a crusade against every single artist who's ever done something bad. But I also don't want to hold up the proposition that we must appreciate artists regardless of their political views, because the idea that we can separate artists from their art just doesn't jive with me all the time. There are times maybe in my ignorance, but if I'm tuned into somebody being a nutbag, like that generally can spoil my appreciation of their art. You know?
Yeah, it just doesn't affect me in the same way, and that may be just an axiomatic difference between us. It's just like like when I'm hearing a song, I'm like, okay, I'm like listening to the lyrics. Is there anything wrong with the lyrics? No.
But you can't tell me that you can watch Braveheart and see Mel Gibson and not think about him getting pulled over and telling the cop, "Are you a Jew?" Like that.
I actually, you know what? I actually don't think about that because I'm a member of the Wallace Clan. So I actually think of all the problems of the movie showing historically. but that's my perspective.
but I'm not even necessarily talking about the movie as much as I can't see that actor without seeing his weird, crazy shit. So yeah, no, this is definitely going to be one of the few times where we're going to fundamentally disagree, and I don't even know if it's a. Here's what's setting off a red flag for me. What's setting off a red flag for me is this feels like I'm acting from specifically the way you bring this up makes me feel like I haven't given this as much thought as I generally want to. So this is something that I'm going to need to, even if I still have the same opinion, I want to think about it some more.
All right, so you're telling me I need to call in next week again?
I mean, you don't have to. You don't have to call in, but if you want.
Like.
You know what? Give me maybe 2 or 3 weeks to kind of mull it over.
Okay.
That way I'm not put on the spot if I don't have time this week, okay?
Here's the hypothetical you need to think about. So, let's take the worst. The worst of the worst. Let's take an ANCAP, right?
Okay.
ANCAP, crazy nutcase.
Yep.
But they come out with a song, a re-rendition of a socialist folk song from the Appalachians, which there's a lot of them, the Appalachian Mountains, especially during the whole mining revolt that occurred.
Yeah. Maybe they did a rendition of like 16 tons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do a rendition of that. It gets super popular. It gives us an inroad to talk about other people. Like they don't think about it because you know as well as I that conservatives can't do media critique.
Somebody watches Big Joel.
So they do that, and it gets really popular.
Right.
And a lot of people start listening to it, and it gives us the inroad to actually talk about the stuff that actually happened that made that song come out.
Yeah.
Isn't that a good thing?
I would absolutely pirate it.
Okay.
I think that if I was torn that way, if I was like, hey, there's an absolute nutcase who created this song, if I want to listen to it and not feel like I've financially benefited that creator, then I would pirate it.
Okay. So, but I think the issue that I had with what you were saying was that you can't separate it at all. Like they're like even listening to that song is going to make you go, oh, it's that guy.
Maybe it totally depends. But if it's something like, I feel like there needs to be a system for ethical consumption. And mine is rather simplistic right now. And I think I need to work on it more. But if I were to tell
And
you what I
mine
would-
is there's no ethical consumption under capitalism at all.
Okay, well, if you want to get into that, then we can have an entire other conversation about the best version of myself that I want to be. How about that? Okay? I'm just...
All right.
All right. Hey, Atheopagan, I love talking to you. I know you. I know you know it.
I do.
I appreciate you calling in. Thank you. And thank you for
I like how my pronouns are him.
Are they him? Oh, my God. See?
If you call me he, I'm going to be very mad.
Yeah, fuck you. I swear. So I be patient with me. I'm trying to produce and host at the same time.
I know.
Hey.
All right, Eric. I love you. Have fun. I'll talk to you in the after show.
Love you too. Take care. Yeah, for people who don't know, I am going to be doing an after show. And that is on Discord. Anybody is welcome to join. The link is in the description. Yeah, I'm going to do that. But first, I have another caller I want to take because I've got tons of callers and I love it. It looks like we have another call in the screening room as well. I feel like after Nick and Jack, I think we may be good on callers after that. But let's move on. Let me get Atheopagan down off the lower third. And let's talk to Nick in Florida. Nick, you are live on the show.
Hey, how are you? Happy birthday.
Why, thank you. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good. What did you want to talk about today?
Well, I just happened to be on YouTube this morning, and I saw that you guys were live, or at least you were live, and I didn't know you guys were back on.
Yeah.
And so, usually I try to refresh the podcast app, and they haven't been populating in there. But anyway,
you know what? Thank you for that. Hold on a second. Let me make a note to go in and see what's going on there. Because that's important to know. Hold on a second. If I don't write it down right now, my ADHD is going to absolutely lose it.
You're fine.
Okay. Let me check in on that. Thank you for letting me know.
Sure. I don't remember what I was saying. What was I saying? I'm so nervous right now.
Oh, no, you're super good. You were.
I'm shaking. The call screener told me you weren't going to smite me or anything. But,
no. You're so good. So, no, I'm sorry. There's a bit of a delay. I don't mean to cut you off, and I promise I will never take it personally when you talk as well. It just needs a little bit of generosity on both of our sides sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, if it helps, I can read what the call screener had said.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'd much rather you tee us up.
Sure. Yeah. So I told myself I was going to call when I finally got out of my Christian school teaching position, and that was around the time you guys went on hiatus. And so it's been a couple years now that I've been out, but I told myself I wanted to call and just kind of make it a little celebration that I was finally able to get out, and just thank you for all the stuff that you have helped me kind of get through and everything, as far as like getting out of theism and all that kind of stuff. But you've been instrumental. I've been listening to you guys since you and Jamie were on Talk Heathen. But I just wanted to say thank you, and I just wanted to call in and celebrate. I told myself I would do that when I finally got out, and I did 2 years ago.
Congratulations. That's amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. And you're doing great. I promise you. I listened to the Atheist Experience for 7 years before ever getting involved with anything as far as content creation or even volunteering for atheist anythings. And when I moved to Texas and went to the ACA for the first time and met Russell Glasser on my first day there, you could have knocked me over with a leaf. I was unable to speak. I'm really glad that you got through, and I'm really, really glad that the conversations that I had and Jamie had helped you on your journey. That's really, really
and V as well.
And V as well.
I've been calling you guys since then. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. And just so you know, V is at a coffee shop right now, just doing their thing, reading and enjoying their weekend. So they're doing very, very, very well.
That's great.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Jamie in years, so I don't know how he's doing, but we're all. I'm pretty sure we're all doing okay. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm really glad to hear that you're through it. It says here in the notes that you wanted to talk a bit about cognitive dissonance. Talk to me.
Oh, that was kind of a secondary thing. The call screener just asked if I had anything with the topic today, so I just kind of told him like, okay, I still celebrate Christmas and stuff because I can kind of separate that from its religious side. And then he asked if there was anything else that I still kind of had from when I was religious. I told him I still listen to some of the music every once in a while, and sometimes it's a little bit weird.
Yeah. Well,
so like,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Like my favorite band growing up when I was a lot younger was Five Iron Frenzy, and and so they had so many of these like awesome songs about like like politics and like standing up for like the Native Americans and all that kind of stuff, and like I love all their stuff, but then like going back and listening to it nowadays, they also have those religious songs, and every once in a while they come on, they make my skin crawl. But I don't know. That's just what I was talking to the call screener about when he asked about that. I kind of tried to come up with an example.
I gotcha. No, it's interesting, right? That sometimes thinking back to it, you're just like, oh, that's a bop, and it's in my head, and sometimes it makes your skin crawl now that you're kind of on the other side of it.
Yeah.
I definitely think that for a lot of people who, again, just recently exit the faith, it can be really, really triggering thinking back to those things that were part of your own indoctrination. And I don't want to invalidate that at all. I think I'm on the other end of it, where I remember when I was really, really involved in going to conferences and doing a lot of activism, that I met someone who was pretty high up in, which atheist group? I'm trying to remember which one it was. Center for Inquiry. It was someone who was kind of high up at CFI, who very, very proudly had excised Christmas from everything in his life and hated Christmas and was just like, this is a Christian, just brainwashing bullshit. And it really kind of struck me that people wanted to remove things that were big parts of their lives and not find ways to incorporate it into their own, lives. And so, yeah, I'm coming at it from the other end. I just don't want people to feel like they need to cut off entire parts of their life because they don't think that they can still celebrate Christmas or whatever.
Oh, for sure. I'm right there with you.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you're definitely further than that guy from CFI. So, no, I get it.
No, I was just trying to come up with an example because the call screener kind of asked if I had anything. So
I appreciate it.
I was like, I don't know. I listen to some music from back then every once in a while, and then every once in a while it creeps me out, and I remove it from the playlist. And
well, it definitely helps. My low self-esteem has a hard time getting praise, but I do deeply appreciate that the content that I've made has helped. So thank you.
For sure. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. I want to get to our last caller before we run out of time. But Nick, you did great on the call. Thank you so much for calling in, and thank you for sticking around.
Thanks for taking me, and happy birthday.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah. Bye.
Okay. I got time for one more caller. Let's jump in and talk to Jack in Texas. Jack, it looks like Hey, Jack, how's it going?
It's going great, man. It's crazy. It's a full circle moment. I started off this whole journey listening to you, funny enough, on some offshoot Instagram account that reposted some of your content with the ACA and got me watching some early talk heathens, and I think I've officially listened to every single one since 3 years ago. And then I found your show recently, and y'all were on hiatus, and got the notification. Here we are. So it's great to know we're full circle.
Absolutely. I had been doing it for 6 years, and I was experiencing burnout.
Yeah.
And when you're burned out, your heart's not in it, and people can tell. You know what I mean? So I definitely needed to take the hiatus. But hey, I'm glad you found the show. You definitely probably have seen how I've kind of shifted as a host over the years.
No, of course, yeah.
Yeah. But what did you want to talk about today?
Well, first off, I do want to say thank you. I appreciate the way that you handle these conversations. I think you do a phenomenal job of not so much beating people over the head with their arguments, but demonstrating and showing that there's alternative ways to view them. It's very impactful, at least in my opinion, the way that you've kind of incorporated this compassion into what you're doing. In a lot of ways, I think it reflects a lot of, at least from my early childhood, the way a Christian is supposed to act when it comes to approaching a non-believer. So I thought it was a funny parallel. But yeah, I've through watching your content, I've kind of come into a situation of I don't really believe anymore. I personally identify as an agnostic atheist, but I'm surrounded in my life by my parents, both on both sides of my divorce or parental divorce, are extremely religious. They're in the ministry. And I'm actually in a relationship with someone at this time that is religious. And it's starting to put a toll on me because I almost feel guilty that I'm not sharing these beliefs. And by no means do I want to get into the arguments and try and convince them of anything different. So it's just trying to see if you had any advice or anything that we could kind of walk through or talk through.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I feel like I kind of want to connect with you first. That
yeah, of course.
I was with someone for 10 years, from 19 until 29. And 7 years into that relationship, I said that I didn't believe anymore. And they said, they cried and said, I can't believe I wasted 7 years of my life with you. And then we stayed together for another 3 years.
Oh, wow.
So I've definitely had my share of not doing things right, not doing things well. That said, I'm just some asshole on the internet, so I don't want you to take my, what I'm saying as necessarily what you should do. But that said,
you're not just an asshole, you're a figure of an asshole. You're kind of the figurehead of some people.
Well, geez, no pressure, right?
Yeah, I know, right?
So here's what I'll tell you. Number one, I got to ask, are you comfortable being honest with your partner about where you are? Or are they aware of the journey that you've been on?
They are aware, and there's been conversations that have come up in the past.
Okay.
And I can give an example of kind of how these conversations go. I have looked into it, but I'll say parroting, just because a lot of the stuff I take is the approaches that you've actually given me, of kind of questioning these, and not so much attacking an argument with my own argument, but just questioning somebody else's until you kind of get to the root of it. And through doing that, there's been situations where I'm sitting in the car, I'm having these conversations.
Jack?
And it's been very impactful for me because I understand how dear their relationship or their perception of the relationship with God is to them, and the way that they find solstice in it. And so when we're having these conversations on things from abortion or sexuality, I have a lot of trans friends, so kind of talking to them about this and talking about why I don't believe and why I don't think other people should. There's been instances where she starts crying and I can't help but feel guilty.
Yeah.
And I, console her in this, and then she'll leave. She'll go back home. She'll talk to her family, her parents, whatever. And then we come back and we'll have another conversation. And I even told her, I was like, hey, it doesn't feel like I'm having a conversation with you. It feels like I'm having a conversation with the figureheads in your life that are telling you these things.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's clear. I just don't want to change. I don't want to be the person to change someone else's mind without their volition. I don't want to be sending videos of things that I agree with, knowing full well that it's going to alter their state. I was in a relationship previously where I asked a lot of questions, and they ended up losing their faith, and I just felt overwhelmingly guilty. So, know quite how to handle it.
That makes a lot of sense. First off, I kind of want to give you some affirmation that it sounds like you're a really empathetic person. Sounds like you're a really kind person, and you're in a shit situation. I highly recommend couples therapy. I think that might be one of the only ways to really hold on to things. And the other is that if you're being honest about where you're at and you find yourself drifting apart, the best thing that you can do is continue to be honest with yourself and with your partner about where you are. Because I think for me, when I fully was like, I don't believe anymore, I stopped having those questioning conversations with the person I was with. I stopped openly being like, well, I don't get this, or I don't like that, because I was more concerned with how it was going to affect them than me thinking aloud and actually like processing with them. And that was ultimately the end of the relationship. You know, I think that if you're going to have this partner in life, then being able to openly talk with them about where you are on that is paramount. And I think that there are definitely professionals who can help there. So couples therapy is where I would say is the way to go. That said, it is perfectly valid for you to grow as a person, and it is perfectly acceptable for the person you're with to grow as well. I know it can be really, really tough. And I wish I had better answers for you. It looks like you dropped out. And I don't know if that was for something that I said or possibly if there was a technical issue. But my heart goes out to you. Jack, I hope everything goes well, and that really is a shitty situation. If anything, I want people to be able to see the show and be like, oh, I'm not alone, because there are other people who are dealing with it too. But the person that you're with does not have an obligation to change in the same direction that you've gone. And you don't have an obligation to stunt your own growth because they're not going with you, you know? That said, I'm going to let this go. Like I said, Jack has left the call, but my heart's with you. We're all pulling for you. So good luck. All right. I really, really want to go and kind of hang out with people and do a little birthday hangout in the after show. So I think I'm going to do that. But as always, I'm going to read the super chats. I got some super chats today, so thank you. Jamie Nolan says, Eric, love you, V, and the channel. Thank you, Jamie. Happy birthday. Oh, that's really sweet. The theater guy sent $5 and says, given the free homemade casseroles you get from being a Baptist, shouldn't we take Pascal's wager as atheists and become Baptists? What if we just made homemade casseroles for each other? I feel like that'd be a hell of a lot easier than taking on all the other faith stuff that comes with, that package. But you do you. I think Pascal's wager is a bad reason to believe anything. And Salad von Bacco, thank you so much. Says, happy birthday, Eric. Thank you for doing this show. Thank you for watching. It's your support and just the community that we're building that makes this worth doing. And I'm really, really grateful for you. So that said, I want to say thank you to all of you for joining me and for the birthday wishes. If you would like the show and you want to support it, consider going to patreon.com/skepticgeneration. Every little bit goes to help the show, and I would love to keep the show going. And if it can support itself someday, all the better. And in the meantime, the show is absolutely worth me paying to make it happen. So together we'll get there. Thank you to the volunteers. And yeah, I'm going to hop over to the after show. If you want to join me on Discord, the link is in the description for this video. I hope to see you there. And until next time, I'm Eric Murphy, and I'm glad we had this talk.